Right in the middle of what was supposed to be the calmest summer of my life, my phone vibrated with a message that quietly shattered everything I believed about family. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was just a few lines of text from my own son, and yet it carried the weight of a betrayal I never saw coming. He wrote, "Mom, we know this is your beach house, but Karis's parents feel uncomfortable. We need some private time to discuss family matters. Please move to a hotel for a few days. We'll pay for it." I stared at the screen for a long moment. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I didn't even feel angry right away. What I felt was something colder. Something sharper. Like the exact moment you realize the ground beneath your feet has been hollow for years. Before I tell you what I did next, I want to ask you for a small favor. If this story touches your heart, if you've ever felt overlooked, disrespected, or pushed aside by the very people you sacrificed for, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you're listening from. It reminds me that even when family fails us, strangers still listen. The midday sun in the low country doesn't just warm you, it strips you bare. It melts pretense. It exposes truth. That day, the heat felt heavier than usual, pressing down on my chest as if the air itself knew what was happening inside that house. I was standing in my kitchen, slicing a ripe watermelon. The knife slid through the flesh with a soft, familiar sound. I knew that sound well. I had chosen that countertop height myself 20 years ago when I designed this house. I knew exactly how the afternoon light would fall across the tiles because I'd argued with contractors over window angles and insulation. Every corner of that home was my decision, my labor, my life. And yet, as I stood there, I felt invisible. On the terrace sat my son, Sterling, his shoulders slumped, eyes fixed on his plate. Across from him were my daughter-in-law's parents, Thaddeus and Zenobia Vance, dripping with jewelry and entitlement. They ate the food I had prepared as if it were an inconvenience. "The fish is a bit dry," Zenobia announced, pushing her plate away. "Remember that place in Savannah, Thaddeus? Much better there." Thaddeus grunted without looking up from his phone. And then there was Karis. She sat at the head of the table. My table. Pouring wine as if she owned the place. She casually gestured toward my garden, my rose bushes, and said, "This whole area needs to go. Too old-fashioned. We'll do concrete and glass. Minimalist." Sterling nodded without looking up. That was the moment something inside me cracked. When Karis snapped her fingers and told me to bring more wine, I realized something painful and undeniable. In their eyes, I wasn't the homeowner. I wasn't the mother. I was staff. I went to the market to escape. To breathe. To remember who I was outside of their contempt. The market smelled of sea salt and fresh fruit, and for a brief moment, I felt human again. That's when the message arrived. Standing there among strangers, figs in my hand, I read my son's words again. "Please move to a hotel." In my own house. And suddenly, everything became very clear. I typed one word back. Understood. Then I opened my contacts and called a man I hadn't spoken to in years. "Desmond," I said calmly, "are you still selling luxury waterfront property?" He laughed. "Always. Why?" "I'm selling mine. Today." He thought I was joking. I wasn't. Within an hour, a buyer was found. Cash. Immediate possession. No emotions. Just paperwork and finality. As I signed my name, my hand didn't shake. I wasn't losing a house. I was shedding a burden. Before returning, I stopped at a boutique and bought a silk scarf and dark sunglasses. Not because I needed them, but because posture matters when you're about to reclaim your dignity. When I walked back into that house, I didn't walk in alone. Behind me stood the new owner and my real estate agent. The laughter on the terrace died instantly. Sterling looked at me like he was seeing a stranger. Karis smiled nervously, already reaching into her purse as if money could smooth this over. "This is Titus Banks," I said calmly. "The new owner of Indigo Point." Silence. Phones buzzed as I sent them the deed. My name. Sole owner. No inheritance. No shared rights. The realization hit them all at once. They had kicked out the only person who had power. The new owner gave them 10 minutes to leave. No discussion. No negotiation. As they packed, I watched my son crumble. He finally understood. Not the loss of a house, but the loss of respect. The trust of his mother. That evening, I checked into a beachfront hotel. Not because I had nowhere else to go, but because I could go anywhere. Sterling texted me later. "Mom, I'm sorry." I didn't reply. Some apologies come after the damage is done. And some women don't rebuild what others destroy. They move on.